The IDF has discovered over 50 tunnels built by the terrorist organization Hamas, running under the border between Egypt and the southern Gaza city of Rafah. While the IDF focuses on destroying these tunnels, the pier, built by the United States military and serves as a Gaza City port, opens and the first trucks pass on top of it. Elsewhere, the president of Iran appears to have had an accident. Let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your boots on the ground report about what is happening in Israel on the 227th day of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, and all their proxies in Yemen, Syria, Iraq, and I don't know even where else. Speaking of Iran, the big story today is that the regime in Tehran has officially confirmed the death of President Ebrahim Raisi, along with Foreign Minister Hossein Amirabdollahian, along with some other regime officials in a helicopter crash. The delegation was returning from a meeting with their Azerbaijani counterparts Sunday evening when the helicopter carrying them went down in heavy fog in a remote mountainous region. Because of the lack of roads and the heavy fog, the search and rescue efforts took over 14 hours before the wreckage of the helicopter was found, completely burned and destroyed. Raisi was 63 years old and widely viewed as the most likely successor to Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who is 85 years old and in poor health condition. Raisi has also been a strong supporter of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps and was known as the Butcher of Tehran for his role in the brutal crackdown on anti-regime protesters in 2022. We will return to this topic at the end of the report. In the meantime, please help us spread the truth, share these videos, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and follow us on social media. Now, let's take a look at one of the most interesting findings in the war on Hamas. Even after 7 months of hard fighting in which the IDF has eliminated thousands of Hamas fighters and confiscated enormous amounts of weapons, ammunition, and cash, Hamas has still managed to keep up the fight and bring in fresh supplies. Now, that might be about to change. During the last few days, soldiers from the 401st Brigade have been hard at work in the eastern neighborhoods of Rafah, eliminating approximately 50 terrorists and finding dozens of terror tunnels and shafts which are in process of being mapped and demolished. This city is a major epicenter of terrorist activities, but it's also a major center of criminal activity, including the smuggling of weapons, narcotics, people, cash, and other contraband. Over 700 tunnels are believed to cross underneath the city, and at least 50 of them run under the border with Egypt. This is where most of the smuggling takes place, and it goes both ways. The fear is that the Israeli hostages could be sent through these tunnels into Egypt, along with the Hamas leadership, which is using them as human shields. In addition, over 400 rockets have been fired into Israel since the beginning of this war, including 120 in the last 2 weeks alone. At least 600 rocket launching sites have been located in Rafah, including many near civilian housing units, schools, and medical facilities. We also know that Israeli hostages are being held in Rafah, and one way we know this is because the IDF managed to find the bodies of some of them who died in captivity. We will keep searching until all our hostages are found, dead or alive. After Hamas is toppled in Rafah, the Palestinians will also benefit. They will be freed from the hands of a murderous regime, and the road to peace and prosperity will be finally paved. The operation in Rafah is necessary, not only to return security to Israel, but also to give the Palestinians and the entire region a chance to live in peace. That's why it's important that we continue to spread the truth. Please take a minute to look for the follower button and click on it so that together we can give the truth its rightful place. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel and pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Moving further north in the Gaza Strip, the United States military has completed the construction of a floating pier for the delivery of humanitarian aid to Gaza City and moved it into place. In recent days, trucks carrying humanitarian aid have already been loaded at this pier and sent into Gaza. More aid is being stockpiled at the port in Larnaca in Cyprus, where it will undergo security screening. When it's ready, it will be loaded onto boats which will take it down to the pier and then distributed under the auspices of the United Nations and the World Food Program. The United States Department of Defense has officially said that it considers the transfer of humanitarian aid to Gaza as a matter of supreme importance, but added that the only role of the United States military in this effort is to provide logistical capabilities. The point has also been made that the American soldiers will not set foot on Gazan soil. They will only be operating the pier and on ships offshore. Even the loading and unloading at the pier will be handled by a civilian contractor under military supervision. Once the aid reaches the shore, it will be turned over to the United Nations and World Food Program, as mentioned, and distributed by them. There is a plan for trucks to be sent directly to warehouses in the center of the Gaza Strip so the food and medicine can be distributed from there without it being stolen by Hamas or anyone else. As I've said before, let's hope these plans work out, because there are a lot of civilians who need food and medicine, and terrorists shouldn't be stealing what is rightfully theirs. On that subject, I will say that the IDF is a partner in the project, taking care of the security of the activity and also helping with logistics. The IDF spokesman welcomed the American initiative, saying that it will streamline and expand the introduction of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip. It was also reported that the IDF's participation in the initiative emphasizes the joint work with international organizations to introduce humanitarian aid to the civilian population in the Gaza Strip. The security provided by the IDF is essential, since Hamas has declared that it considers the presence of any foreign military forces on the soil of Gaza to be unacceptable, even if they're participating in the delivery of humanitarian assistance. In fact, just a few days ago, Hamas fired shells into an area where the pier was being built, endangering the lives of UN workers present in that area. The IDF acted to protect the UN workers, and only one of them was lightly hurt in the incident. The IDF will continue to provide special security in the port area and also collect intelligence in order to protect the dock and UN workers, as well as the American civilians and soldiers operating there. This is not easy because of the high volume of aid coming in and the fact that it will be only operating during the day. Sources familiar with the matter say that the land routes will continue to be the main route for the introduction of humanitarian aid into Gaza, and that this project has nothing to do with people entering or leaving the Strip. According to them, this is a very large operational humanitarian logistical operation. Once again, I will ask you to continue praying for the peace of Jerusalem, for the success of this operation, and help us spread the truth, share and subscribe to this YouTube channel in order for more people to know what is happening in this region and in Israel. If you like to receive more videos like this one from Israel, from the Middle East, and stay updated with what is going on here, please consider making a financial donation by clicking the donate button on YouTube or by going to our website at www.tbn.org/Israel. Now I need to tell you something about the cruelty of the terrorist organization Hamas. In footage found by the IDF forces in Gaza, 80-year-old Ella Eliakim is seen in Gaza a few days after she was abducted from her father's house in Nahal Oz, the Israeli kibbutz surrounding Gaza, on October 7th. Ella, only 8 years of age, speaks to the Hamas camera recording her. She is heard saying,
אני אלה אליקים, הבת של נועם, ואני בת 8, ואני מבקשת מבית שישחרר אותנו, ואני שבויה של חמאס.
The IDF issued a statement that there has been quite a lot of materials related to the hostages found in the Gaza Strip, as Hamas wanted to take maximum advantage of these hostages for their own propaganda purposes. This short video was released at the request of the child's family because they want the world to know about what Hamas is guilty of. 8-year-old Ella said that the terrorists asked her to record the video repeatedly in different clothes, made her a ponytail, and put a bandage on her to make it look like she was being well taken care of. These pictures and videos are only a small example of the sadistic cruelty with which Hamas has acted towards these hostages, many of whom were only children. The good news is that most of these children were released and have been wrapped in the love of their families since coming home. Thank you for joining us in this effort of sharing the truth with the world of what is happening and who the IDF is fighting. I'm happy to announce that at the end of the week, an episode of my network series, My State, will be released, and this time we'll talk about Iran's war and military capabilities. Stay tuned. On the subject of Iran, let us return to the story from the beginning of our report about the death of Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi. There are many, including myself, who will say that this was an act of God's direct intervention in the world. The helicopter crash was caused by heavy fog, and I'm reminded the death of this evil king and some of his senior advisors will surely cause a political earthquake inside the regime that rules Iran. As I said before, Raisi was set to become the next supreme leader, which is an office with a title that tells you everything you need to know about it. There weren't any plans for what Iran will be doing over the next 20 years or so that didn't envision Raisi being the supreme leader. Now, new plans will have to be made as quickly as possible, and there are several other candidates who will be trying to get themselves appointed. It's going to be a fierce internal struggle, and it will be a big destruction for Iran, even as it continues to battle street protests by a restless population, economic turmoil, and endless natural disasters. That's just inside Iran, not to mention all the problems it has with its neighbors and its obsession with battling Israel. The current Supreme Leader, Ali Khamenei, is in charge of managing all these external matters, while the President has the authority for managing internal affairs and the economy. There is a hierarchy of lower-level officials who are in charge of various aspects of this system, and in practice, it functions as a vast web of patronage and family connections. In other words, it's very corrupt and dysfunctional, and Raisi was at the center of everything. With him now gone, it's unclear if this replacement can manage all these connections and keep everything running. If I can speak for a moment about the helicopter crash itself, it really doesn't surprise me. Iran is a country that has been under sanctions for decades, preventing it from being supplied with spare parts, technical knowledge, and training needed to maintain modern aircraft, weapons, and other equipment. Iranian airplanes, both military and civilian, crash frequently, and most Iranians won't even fly on domestic airlines because they know how unsafe they are. It's also worth remembering that in the massive barrage of rockets and drones that Iran fired at Israel on April 14th, many of these missiles blew up in their launch pads, blew up in mid-flight, and otherwise failed to function as they were supposed to. So maybe we shouldn't be so surprised that a helicopter crashed in Iran, even if this one happened to be carrying some very important passengers. Elections are another thing that doesn't work very well in Iran. Iran's last parliamentary elections saw an official voter turnout of 8%. Most Iranians know that they don't have any real democracy, and they don't want to give the regime any legitimacy by participating in these phony elections. Also, many ordinary people in Iran simply can't be bothered to vote because they're so busy staying alive amidst brutally difficult economic and environmental conditions, which the regime has done nothing to help with. I can't conclude this report without also mentioning the heavy loss to the regime because of the death of Foreign Minister Hossein Amirabdollahian, who was also on his helicopter, which crashed. This man was fluent in Arabic and had good relations with many of his counterparts all over the region, as well as on the international stage. He was also very close to the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps and was a key player in managing the hostilities against Israel by Hamas and Hezbollah. He will be difficult for the regime to replace. However, most analysts believe that the Iranian strategy is not expected to change following the death of the president. Although it will be difficult for them, the Islamic Republic is legally and organizationally prepared to deal with his sudden departure, at least initially. According to the Iranian constitution, the first deputy of the president, Muhammad Mukhbar, is expected to serve as his deputy until a date for new presidential elections is set within no later than 50 days. However, as I already said, it is very unclear who will be running this election, and it is also very unclear if the voters will bother to show up to the polls. Online chatter surrounding Raisi's death, both in Iran and around the Arab world, indicate that many people are not sorry to hear that he is dead. But there were also reports in news portals around the world which absolutely were meant to be taken seriously, accusing Israel of assassinating the Iranian leader. As I've said before, this is the Middle East, where lies and deceit, conspiracy theories, and fairy tales are to be expected. However, once again I will say that this is a war between good and evil, and the hand of the God of Israel is in everything. So please pray for the peace of Israel, pray for the IDF soldiers who fight for all of us, pray for the peace of the citizens of the Gaza Strip who can be freed from the evil rule of Hamas, and most importantly, don't forget to pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.